Over the last semester and a half, in my practice, I've started to gravitate towards more than human creatures as symbols and conduits for queer desire. My use of animals for queer and trans symbology in my work is partly something I picked up from my partner Ra Gurk. Nature, biology, and animals have been central to their practice for as long as I have known them. Fish, deer, birds, and so on. These creatures are used as loaded symbols in both of our work, but we also share a simple sense of joy and wonderment when encountering the animals around us. Here are clips I took during a date on the Woonasquatucket River. Ra and I, along with our close friend Kira, visit and discuss the birds along this river often. There was a seagull that would appear on the second buoy from the bridge closest to Pravwash. He seemed to be there nearly every day of February and March up until a little over a week ago. We would pass him on our way to and from class and would text pics to each other. We had started calling him Mr. Guy. I even got photos of him diving for a fish. I wonder what happened to him. Very sad. Wait, this was all true on 3/21/23 when I wrote it, but as of the 22nd, Mr. Guy has turned up again, on his typical spot. I also became acquainted with a swan with a missing foot. Ra and I speculated that she could have lost it due to hypothermia from the cold river. The pigeons which moved as a gaggle became their own character. Ra and I sat on the riverside watching them leave the roof they were sitting on, fly a round or two, only to return to the same roof. We would watch these geese move in duos. They often traveled together. There were also several moments where two birds would come stay next to where Ra and I were sitting, as if they were having a little queer date of their own. In the time that we sat there, 2 ducks joined us, and then 2 pigeons. We would also watch the ways the ducks would fly before landing on the water with intense velocity. The sparrows and house finches would land on the thickets by the river, causing their long stems to bend and bounce with the tiny birds' weight. Ra and I love to sit together, watching and ogling at all the things they do. Animals encapsulate many possibilities of how to be, which Western thought has separated from the human. When navigating gender-affirming care through medical institutions, I have often felt like they were not built for me. It is cathartic to look to birds or other more than human creatures when medical files still list the wrong name or when they request that I mark my sex. Animals spark a visceral delight and wonder which distracts me from the difficult moments and experience. Trans individuals and trans-affirming care is more accepted by medical institutions and professionals now than in any other decade, yet rigid notions of gender and sex are deeply inscribed into these digital forms, just as they are deeply inscribed into notions of the human. Animal kinship often feels like a path out. Animals also symbolize alternative ways of interacting with capitalism. While animals have surely been harmed by capitalism, their day-to-day is not as constrained by these systems as ours are. There are similar desires underlying sapphic cottagecore fantasies and fantasies of simply wanting to be building a nest with another bird. They are both informed by desires of wanting your queerness to stretch past the stress, trauma, and happenings of the here and now. The difference is that the desire to live like a creature is a post-human one, potentially a post-gender one, and perhaps an anti-capitalist one. The dissolving of the confines of the human is something that brings me much comfort.